Welcome to The Explainer. Let's just dive right in, because today we are unpacking one of the absolutely most fascinating, emotionally charged, and frankly, tactically intriguing teams heading into the 2026 FIFA World Cup. We're talking, of course, about Senegal's national football team, the iconic Lions of Teranga. Based on a comprehensive analytical report covering everything from their identity and history to their tactics and current form, we're going to break down exactly what makes this specific squad so incredibly dangerous right now.
So what happens when you strip a champion of their crown? You know, that is literally the emotional core of Senegal's entire 2026 campaign. To really understand this team today, we can't just look at their tactics on a whiteboard. We have to look at the massive controversy surrounding the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, or AFCON. It has set a psychological stage that's just unlike anything else in world football right now. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of that controversy in just a second, but I want you to keep this question in the back of your mind as we go. Now, to figure out where the Lions of Teranga are headed, we've got to look at where they've been. And their history, it's a complete roller coaster that perfectly captures their resilience as a nation. I mean, they made this historic, absolutely stunning World Cup debut back in 2002, making it all the way to the quarterfinals. But then, nothing. A humbling 16-year World Cup absence. And when they finally made it back in 2018, they faced what has to be one of the cruelest exits in the history of the sport. They weren't eliminated by points or even goal difference. They were knocked out by the fair play rule simply because they had more yellow cards. It's an obscure rule, but it actually happened. But here's the thing. They channeled all of that heartbreak into winning their first ever AFCON title in 2021. So every single setback basically built the foundation for the golden era we're seeing today.
Section 1. A stripped champion returns.
Okay, picture this. It's the January 2026 AFCON final against Morocco. The match goes deep into stoppage time, and the scenes are just pure chaos. We're talking a coach-led walk-off by Senegal to protest a highly controversial penalty awarded to Morocco. Now, Morocco actually misses that penalty, the game pushes into extra time, and then Senegal's Pape Gueye scores an absolute thunderbolt in the 94th minute. Senegal wins at 1-0 on the pitch. They lift the trophy. But wait, 2 months later, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, steps in and rules a 3-0 forfeit in favor of Morocco because of that earlier walk-off. Just like that, Senegal is stripped of the title. Now, Senegal is officially appealing this to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, but the crucial takeaway here is what this does to a locker room. This perceived injustice has created a profound, burning sense of collective anger. They're showing up to North America with a massive chip on their shoulder.
Moving right along to Section 2, Pape Thiaw and Tactical DNA.
The man orchestrating this revenge tour is Coach Pape Thiaw, and his philosophy is crystal clear. He says, I play offensively, and after every ball loss, you have to go to recovery. You see, Thiaw is a former striker himself. He actually played on that legendary 2002 World Cup squad. So he doesn't want his team to just sit back, park the bus, and endure the game. He wants them to impose themselves. That striker's instinct translates into a super aggressive, proactive approach for the entire squad.
So, how does that actually play out on the pitch? Well, they have some strict non-negotiables. First off, high, aggressive, collective pressing. The second they lose the ball, they're swarming to get it back. Once they do have it, they rely on just searing pace in their attacking transitions. They mostly operate out of a 4-3-3 formation that can seamlessly shift into a 4-2-3-1, and they absolutely love creating wide overloads using their rapid wingers to overwhelm defenders. But hey, don't let all this aggressive attacking talk fool you. The whole system is built on top of a compact, incredibly disciplined defensive block. In fact, that defensive spine is so rock solid, they only conceded a single goal in their first 7 qualifiers. It's a seriously explosive combination. Now, to make this high-octane system work, Thiaw utilizes something called pressing triggers. Basically, these are specific on-pitch cues. If an opposing player takes a really poor first touch, or plays a lazy back pass, or suddenly gets forced onto their weaker foot, boom! That instantly signals the entire Senegal team to aggressively collapse and win the ball back. The logic here is just brilliant. They want to force chaotic, panic-inducing situations for the opposition in the most dangerous zones of the pitch. They're trying to turn defense into a lethal attack in a matter of seconds.
All right, Section 3, the Golden Generation's farewell. So we've got the immense motivation, we've got the lethal tactics, but there's a ticking clock handing over this whole explainer. You see, this 2026 tournament marks the last dance for Senegal's greatest era of players. Take the number 53. That's the record number of international goals scored by their absolute talisman and captain, Sadio Mané. For years, he has been the heartbeat of this national team. He's won everything from the Champions League to the Premier League at the club level, plus that 2021 AFCON for his country. And the sources confirm he's retiring from international football right after this World Cup. The emotional weight here is huge. They want to send their greatest ever player out on the ultimate high, and you really can't overstate how much that matters.
But let's take a step back and look at this objectively. If we weigh the squad, the strengths are undeniable. We're talking exceptional attacking depth with guys like Nicolas Jackson, Ismaïla Sarr, and Iliman Ndiaye. They've got elite midfield depth with Lamine Camara and Habib Diarra. Plus, they're riding the momentum of a flawless, unbeaten qualifying run. However, we have to talk about the weaknesses too. That legendary core of Mané, Kalidou Koulibaly, and Idrissa Gana Gueye, it's definitely aging. Also, while they've been keeping clean sheets, the underlying defensive metrics show they are actually pretty susceptible to giving up high-quality chances. And finally, let's be real about the psychological risk with Coach Diao. His impulsive decision-making, like initiating that dramatic walk-off in the AFCON final, reveals a volatile temper under extreme pressure. In a World Cup knockout match, that kind of impulsiveness could be disastrous.
Even with those risks, you have to admit this roster is brilliantly put together. It perfectly merges battle-hardened veterans with electric, upcoming youth. In goal, you've got Édouard Mendy, a truly elite penalty-saving goalkeeper. At the back, the 35-year-old defensive anchor, Koulibaly. But then look at the fresh legs. Lamine Camara is a two-time CAF Young Player of the Year pulling the strings in midfield. Up top, Chelsea's Nicolas Jackson is this powerful, crazy fast central focal point. And then you have teenagers coming through, like Barasapoko Ndiaye, an 18-year-old midfield wonder kid from Bayern Munich, not to mention PSG's 18-year-old Ibrahim Ndiaye. This is a wonderfully balanced squad spanning the top leagues of Europe and the Saudi Pro League.
And all that collective talent, it produced this number, 24. They locked down 24 points in a completely unbeaten CAF qualifying run across 10 matches. That's 7 victories, 3 draws, and 0 defeats. Pulling off an unbeaten run like that proves their immense quality and consistency over a long, grueling campaign.
And hey, they aren't just taking care of business regionally either. Take a look at June 10, 2025. Senegal marched into Nottingham and secured a dominant 3-1 victory over England. Why is that such a big deal? Because going into that game, England had gone 21 matches without losing to an African side. Senegal became the first to beat them in 22 games. That result screams to the world that Senegal isn't just an African powerhouse, they are a team entirely capable of physically and tactically dismantling elite European squads right on their own turf. Which brings us to Section 4, Surviving the Group of Death. Because despite all that momentum, they face a truly monumental hurdle right out of the gate in North America. Group I. Let's look at the board. Senegal currently sits at 14th in the world. First up, they have to play France, the literal #1 ranked team on the planet, led by Kylian Mbappe and unmatched squad depth. Then they face Norway, ranked 31st, bringing arguably the most lethal finisher alive today in Erling Haaland. And finally, Iraq, ranked 57th, who are going to be playing with massive emotion as they make their historic World Cup return for the first time since 1986. This group is incredibly top-heavy. It is widely and rightly considered the most dangerous group of the entire tournament. And that opening match against France on June 16th, wow. It isn't just a game, it is packed with historical echoes. It's a direct rematch of that legendary 2002 upset we talked about earlier, where Senegal shocked the world and beat the defending French champions 1-0. You can be absolutely certain that Didier Deschamps and this current French squad will not make the mistake of underestimating Senegal this time around. That match is going to be electric. Finally, Section 5, the 2026 Tournament Outlook. So, what's the definitive assessment based on our source material? Well, Senegal are heavy favorites to secure maximum points against Iraq. But the real decider, the absolute critical fixture for knockout survival, is their June 22 clash against Norway. If Koulibaly and that defense can somehow contain Haaland, second place is likely theirs. Ultimately, the report officially classifies them as a dangerous dark horse with legitimate quarterfinal potential. But it all comes down to one thing. Their success completely hinges on maintaining tactical composure under extreme emotional pressure. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. Will the burning injustice of a stripped title, perfectly colliding with the emotional farewell of Sadio Mané's golden generation, fuel Senegal to their greatest World Cup run in history? Or will that pressure simply be too much to bear? The data clearly shows they have the talent, the speed, and the defensive spine to beat literally anyone on their day. And let's be honest, a team fueled by this much passion, skill, and a massive point to prove, That's the most dangerous kind of underdog out there. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.